always say go with someone that's accredited with the VA. Why does accreditation matter or not matter? Woo!
Oh man.
So
Oh man. Well, Kimball's been on here speaking about it all live stream, right? Listen, I'll tell you this. In any industry, any accreditation, or any organization, you have some people that do good work, and you have some people that do bad work. Accreditation means a lot of times accreditation means you took a test and you were able to pass the test. I do not understand that. So, next time, when you're dealing with someone that is accredited, or dealing with, in a lawyer even, as Kimball says on many of his videos, provide a manual reference. Provide a manual reference. If they cannot provide you a manual reference or a CFR regulation, guess what? I would defer to consider their counsel.
Woo! Man, you hit the nail on the head. And I tell, I see that people are like, oh, go with somebody accredited, and they say that. And I don't want to make it sound like we're bashing VSOs. You got some good ones, you got some not so good ones. Same way with Raiders. Same thing. You got some good ones and not so good ones. But I came across a VSO one time. We were just talking, and I was like, well, you can look it up in the CFR. And his response to me, like, subscribe, hit that notification button. Don't forget to share this video with your fellow veterans. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dwayne Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. Welcome this evening to my monthly live Q&A session. I got a special guest for you. And guess what? He's a former Raider like me. And also, he was trained by the VA like me. So I am super excited. We met earlier this year in Dallas at a veterans event. Reached out to him a couple weeks ago. And I was like, hey, I got to get you on the show. And he's here. How you doing this evening, sir?
Man, I'm great. Just really excited to serve, educate, and make sure we provide the support to the veterans. And I really appreciate you so much, Ms. Kimball, for reaching out and giving us the opportunity to be able to make sure our veterans are well taken care of, just as much as you do.
Hey, I definitely appreciate that. And thank you for serving. Thank you for what you did as a former VA Raider, but I do not want to steal your thunder. So go ahead, Mr. Davis, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your organization, what you're doing out there. You're in the Vegas area. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing out in Vegas for veterans, but definitely I want to know a little bit more about your business and let all the subscribers know as well.
Most definitely. Thank you. So particularly Veterans for Veterans, obviously, an organization that's going to be able to make sure that we're supporting our veterans in regards to their disability consent claims purposes, and also real estate services, and also entrepreneurship areas, making sure that everyone is being able to be provided the information that they need to go through and also get the benefits that they deserve, right? So, as for myself, I want to make sure that everyone understands that I am a former Raider, right? I worked for the VA for many, many years, and also a veteran myself with over 3 deployments and Operation Iraqi Freedom, and also Operation Enduring Freedom as well. So, I do have some sea time under my belt as I was in the Navy, obviously, as you guys can see, right?
All right.
Yeah. So, but travel the nation actually in being able to work for the VA, having the opportunity to work in such places and such as San Diego, such as Milwaukee, Washington, D.C., and really being able to garner and gather all the information literally around the nation. So it's been a pleasure, and we're here to continue our support to veterans, and this is why we're here. So I'm really excited.
Hey, definitely appreciate that introduction. So everyone, we got about 78 people who are here tonight. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button before we get into the Q&A. if you want to reach out to Mr. Davis's organization, Veterans for Veterans, you can go to our website at vetsforvetsconsulting.com. Vetsforvetsconsulting.com. Also, if you want to send them an email, info@vetsforvetsconsulting.com. Their phone number, I'll stick their phone number in the comment section as well, but it's 619 619 786 0465. Okay. And I'll put it in the comment section as well. So, Mr. Davis, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about how is it that, your organization, what does your organization do as it pertains to veterans and the VA claims process?
Oh, great question. So, as we know, the process is in most difficulty in nature as it comes, right? So we make sure that we get them from step A all the way to step Z, making sure that we're providing the information, the education, the support, the understanding. Again, Kimball, you and I would know on a continuous basis, understanding the regulations. That's huge, right? I can't break down some of the jargon in regards to the CFR, making sure that's discussed in layman's terms. Not only that, making sure that medical appointments are at ease, right? Because I can't stress enough how many veterans are unfortunately not properly rated just due to the fact of, again, bad evidence, right? No evidence at all, or even simply messing up paperwork. The VA has different avenues on how they're going to be able to either support you and get you an increase in grant or deny you, right? Again, simply coming with prescribed forms. Before, you can be able to just write it in on a napkin and claim is filed, but not any longer. So it's just things of that nature that we want to make sure that we're providing the full support from step A to step Z, making sure the veterans are getting pretty much what they deserve, the benefits that they deserve and that they're entitled to.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate that. So before we get into Q&A, make sure you go out to my website, www.kmd89.com, pick up my new book, VA Claim Success, your guide to maximizing your VA compensation benefits. Also, I have at the bottom, scrolling across the bottom, you could use a coupon code for 20% off, VET, VET 20. Okay. See, a lot of people going to my website, purchasing the book, and I have 20% off and the coupon code right next to it, the buy button, but people not using the coupon code. I don't get it. Okay. So you know what? We're going to kick the questions off. And I got first question for you, Mr. Davis. My first question.
Yes, sir.
So man, I just can't believe we got 2 Raiders on here, trained by the VA. That is so awesome. So you have a YouTube channel as well. Veterans, is it Prepare to Compete? Is it your YouTube handle?
Yeah.
Prepare to Compete podcast, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So first question, because I get this all the time. People leave comments and they'll say, Raiders want to see this, or Raiders are going to do this. Or they'll ask me, if I do this, what would a Raider do? I'm like, do you know how many Raiders it is out there? I don't know all of them. But this is one question I get, and I know you can answer this question. People leave a comment and say, RVSRs are trained to deny the claim always, no matter what, the first time around. So my question to you, are RVSRs trained to just deny regardless the first time around?
Well, I'll tell you this. As a Raider and being around other Raiders,
to deny it. Yeah.
Purposely.
Yeah.
That is totally not true. That's just something that it is not. I've heard the mantra all the time. Just keep submitting it until it's granted. That's not how it works, right? It's actually the reverse, right? Grant if you can, deny if you must, right? So potentially we want to be able to make sure that support, but unfortunately, veterans are not providing the correct information, evidence, and also documents to get to the point of approval or grants. Just to debunk that, no, they're not here to deny you. And I will tell you, a lot of those people that are actually behind that desk are veterans themselves. So
Yep.
on the contrary, they want to support veterans as well.
Yeah. So thank you for that, because I wanted them to hear it from somebody other than myself, because because they'll say, "Well, Dwayne, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not accredited." I was
Oh
trained
wow.
by the VA. VSOs are not trained by the VA. When I went through my training, I started in June, didn't end in October, and I was still on second signature for maybe 4 or 5 months after that. So they're like, "What are you doing?" "Go use a VSO," and that's a whole nother conversation. But,
Yeah.
I'm just like, "Hey, we were trained by the VA," and nowhere in my training did they say deny the veteran the first time around. In fact, like you said, they told us you have to be an advocate for the veteran. You have to speak for the veteran. The evidence has to speak for the veteran. So I've seen some of your videos on YouTube and mine, and I'm giving these nuggets. We're giving these nuggets, and those views don't get a lot of watch time. It's the cola increase. The new 100%. Well,
Yeah.
if you're not educated and you believe you should be 100%, that video is not going to do you any good. You know what I mean?
True indeed.
It's
True
not going to
indeed.
do you any good. So we're going to kick it off. You're the guest tonight. Uh, I'll read the question out to you. I'm going to pop it up on the screen. I don't know if you can see it on yours, but it's John King. It states, "Can I file an 0996 from one decision letter and then an 0995 from a different decision letter at the same time? Both will be separate filings."
Oh, well, great question, Mr. King. So when you're typically, and just to kind of break that down, it's going to be a higher level review, right? And also a supplemental claim. So with the appeals process, there are two different types of claims filings. And when we're submitting a higher level review, that's pretty much a continuation to be able to review that case file with, higher or more experienced decision review officers. So there won't be any evidence needed. So if there's no evidence that you're submitting with that case file, go ahead. You can go ahead and submit it, and it will be processed. But now with the supplemental, I would go ahead and yield you to say, yes, you may, but make sure that you have the evidence to support that review. Okay. So as long as you have the evidence to be able to support that 0995 and supplemental, go ahead. Make sure you go ahead and get it filed.
Right. And keep in
So
mind, you
the
got to make
question,
sure,
yeah,
yeah, the conditions are separate. So you can't submit a high
yeah,
level review. If you got denied for the back, regardless if it's on two separate decisions, you can't submit a high level review for the back and then turn around and submit a supplemental for the back as well. Okay.
true
So
indeed.
it's
True.
it's two different jurisdiction there. Okay. I'll take the next one because this gentleman put 4 questions in here. Okay. Ooh, yeah, he put 4 questions. So Twisted, one quarter given 30% GERD for considerable impairment, 30%. Doc stated considerable due to manageable if I use meds. I stated in my 4138 that GERD severely impacts my life due to trouble. I did read this earlier, so I'm going to jump down to the last part. Medication or treatment. Have you seen this scenario before as a rater? How would you rate? Um, so Twisted, I would rate, if you're going in for an increase, I would rate off of whatever the criteria is for the next higher percentage. Okay. So if you submit a DBQ and it shows that you meet that criteria for the next higher percentage, I grant the next higher percentage. If you go to the CMP exam and that exam shows the next, you meet the next higher percentage criteria, I grant. Now, let's just say the evidence from the DBQ doesn't show that, but you claimed it, and in your lay statement, you stated you had those symptoms. I could use your subjective statement to grant the increase. Okay. So it's not what we think it should be, it's what is under the diagnostic code criteria. So if you go back to that rating decision, they will tell you the percentage, the criteria, the reason why they gave you that percentage and then they have to tell you why the next higher percentage was not warranted. That's the criteria. That's how I would rate that. Okay. I would love to just give you the next higher percentage, but if it gets pulled by QRT, not gonna happen. Okay. I'm gonna get the error, and that's gonna be a problem. All right. So Kenneth, I'll shoot this back to you. Can you see screens, or should I still continue to
Oh
read
no,
it off?
no, we're good to go now. But
Okay.
I do have again a little trouble seeing the questions. But if you could, that'd be great.
Okay. All right. So Dito Girl, welcome back, Dito Girl from Texas. States, hey DK, hey from San Antonio. Yep, you're from San Antonio. You're looking to still buy the house in Louisiana. I do remember. I want to apply for a TDIU. Ooh. Question
There
is,
we
the
go.
two witness signatures, do they have to be notarized? And can I use my husband since he's a vet as well? Do I submit a claim?
Great. That's a great question. So TDIU, in regards to statements, being notarized is not necessarily a requirement, but it could, assist, depending on what stage of the claim that you're in, right? So with that being said, if you're going to submit a TDIU case filing, make sure you're considering who is providing your statements. Your husband can therefore be able to be of assistance and write a statement for you. So that can help if you guys were together during that time frame. So I will always make sure you outline your date of marriage and such, so that can be considered. But if you want to kind of get in the crux of things, because we're all family here, right? Let's kind of get in the crux of things, right? When we're talking about statements, I always want to make sure that we highlight statements are great, right? Statements are wonderful, but sometimes that probative weight is not a lot of times considered through examiners, right? And it's not to prevent veterans from writing statements. You should write statements, but make sure that the statements has some real credible information, some great information, such as Mr. Kimball mentioned, symptoms, right? Times of issues that may have happened. So that's a real consideration that you might want to take. But in regards to TDIU, yes, again, those statements, that's totally fine. If I were you, I will get them notarized, just want to be on the safe side. It's not going to be removed or dispositioned, but however, when considering TDIU, make sure that you're considering the whole aspect of individual unemployability, just due to the fact of the basically marginal income that you can make moving forward.
Right. Also, what I'd add to that is you have to understand TDIU is not a standalone claim. It's a claim for increase for the service connected conditions that you're saying that prevents you from gainful employment. And another thing to watch out for is, if let's say you're 50% for 70% for PTSD, you're going in for an increase. What you're saying is you feel you meet the 100% criteria now. Okay. If that 70% has been in effect less than 5 years, you go to that CMP exam and it shows improvement, guess what's going to happen? Proposal to reduce. If it's been in effect more than 5 years, they need two exams. So TDIU is tricky. You need to understand it. I know I have a couple of videos on my channel explaining TDIU. Mr. Davis, do y'all have any videos on your channel explaining TDIU? Have you talked about that?
Yeah, we actually do have a video for IU. IU is very particular, and I yield our veterans to be cautious of it. Be cautious of it because, as you mentioned, it is not a standalone claim. As much as we try to make it a standalone claim, it is not. It's technically almost considered a claim for increase, right? Because those conditions that you're going after will be reviewed.
Right. That is correct. So let's keep it moving. Um, Donald, I received a decision on my plantar fasciitis, and the letter stated I could have pest planus and to file. Is that common, and how good is my outcome? First, Donald, what letter are you referring to? Because I can't think of one that the VA would send you to state you could have pest planners and to actually file. Can you think of a letter, Mr. Davis? I cannot. Mm-mm. And then the outcome is going to, you got to look at where does that pest planners fall under the 5 ways of service connection, and do you meet the criteria? So that's what the outcome more than likely would depend on. Go ahead, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, it's just again, as Mr. Kimball said, Donald, we need a lot more information.
Yeah,
There's a lot of variables there that we would love to support you and give you more guidance, but there's a lot more information needed. I never want to put myself in a position to give wrongful information. So if you
right.
could, please send another question. Send the question back over with the correct information. I'll love to answer it.
Okay. All right. Cool. Moving right along. It
And
states, do
Kimball, I
you?
did want to go to let you know that I'm able to see the questions now too.
Okay. Army guy, do you have any insight into HR 6023 Restitution and Justice Act? Have you heard of that, Mr. Davis? Because
The
I
HR.
haven't. Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah,
So
no, I'm not too familiar, but I would
right,
love to, dive into that again, dive into it to get more information for sure.
right. Yeah, so Army guy, and this is for everybody. Even though we were trained by the VA, and I'm pretty sure when Ms. Davis was going through his training, they told him the same thing. We can't memorize all this stuff. We can't memorize the M21 manual reference. We can't memorize the 38 CFR. What we were trained to do is to know where to go and find this information and interpret it as it pertains to the case that was in front of us. Okay. So a lot of people will say, oh, this particular 38 CFR, what is it? I don't know. People ask me, what is the criteria for SMCT? I don't know. I would have to go to the M21 manual reference and look it up. I know where to go and find it in a couple of, few seconds, but I don't have it memorized. Now, there are some regulations that I have memorized. 38 CFR 3.309 subpart A, 38 CFR 3.309 subpart E. 1 year presumptive and Agent Orange presumptives. But I have to go there to see, okay, which is that condition on there or that condition is on there? So, because I work with those, but we
Mhm.
don't know, and we don't know what another rater will do. It's, it's like me saying, you know, what would another one of your fellow employees do on your job? We don't know. Okay, but we're going to keep it moving. Caprice
But can
Bear
I
said,
add
"I've
to that
been."
real quick, Kimball?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Davis.
Yeah, I get a lot of those same questions as well, right? Well, why don't you know this? Well, let me tell you guys, when I tell you internal regulations change pretty much every other week to include other manual references, to include the CFR, these things change so very often. So if you're a rater that remembered something back in 2000 and you're trying to rate now, it is not the same. You're in a
Yeah.
different world, right? So I always want to make sure that it's a forever evolving and a forever moving part. So having the information and staying updated is one of the criteria that we always make sure that we do. And I know Mr. Kimball does, is he provides the content for the masses. But make sure, again, you understand that a lot of this information is going to change.
Okay.
Again, the PACT Act that came out, that was a huge one, right? That changed literally the landscape of a lot of things. So, but I'm right with you. 3.309, they beat that one in your head, right?
Yeah. And I was on the Niemer team
Oh,
when they added those 3 conditions. So I rated Niemer cases for a whole year. That's all I did. And I had to
wow.
find creative ways to come up to figure out how to put that veteran in Vietnam or uh, Thailand or Korea, somewhere like that, brown water. They didn't have
Yeah.
blue water back then. But yeah, that was brutal. Okay. So Caprice Bear says, yes, I've been waiting, waiting all week for this. And again, I do these the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next year, we're going to switch to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely put that on your calendar. Also, if you like Mr. Davis to come back, we still got some time, but if you like Mr. Davis to come back, maybe we like jump on a Zoom or something like that. because I know we won't be able to get through all these questions this evening. Just leave a response in the comment section. Let Mr. Davis know, hey, we want you to come back. Answer some more questions. Okay. So this one I'll let you take, Ms. Davis. I received a decision from the VBA, and now it has been 7 months since the decision. I have not received any rating for the things that they were granted or heard anything for the things that was remanded.
Got it. Got it. So this is actually a kind of close one here. So because I used to, work specifically for appeals, well, the AMO now, right? Appeals Management Office, but it was Appeals Management Center. So when you're getting things remanded, if you have not heard anything back for some time, it must get the docket to the judge. So if you received a decision from the VA and it's been 7 months since that decision, with that, if you have not received any ratings, what simply has happened, it has went to the docket from the judge and it's been remanded. They provided additional instructions that needed to be provided so they can make a proper decision. Once they're able to make a proper decision at that point, what happens is the judge will then send the decision back to the actual AMO or the Appeals Management Office. And when they do that, what's going to happen at that point, it's going to then get in a rater's queue so they can be able to properly make a correct decision. But they cannot make a decision with half the information. They will refuse to make a decision with half their information. What they would rather do is get all the updated information, if that means including any type of CMP examinations, any additional evidence from yourself, just anything. My advice for you would be, John, is make sure that you have all your evidence and you're continuously providing new evidence through this entire time frame. Do not let it lapse. So whatever the remand is, if they're requesting anything from you, get it back to them as soon as possible.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate that. Let me see. Okay. Caprice Berry says, my dad just retired 30 years. He's only at 20%. He's very reluctant with claiming PTSD. He is concerned that it will affect him finding a job or affecting his right to carry. Advise. I would say, Caprice, as it pertains to a carry, you got to look at the laws. Okay. That's not anything that a rater would, can't control. Okay. So forth is him filing other conditions, that has to be totally up to him. He has to put that claim in. So, if he did 30 years, my question, does he have an aerosol badge? Does he have a parachute badge? Is there any conditions that's under the PACT Act for Gulf War undiagnosed illness if he served in Southwest Asia? Okay. So it could be some other things in there that could take him from 20 to whatever percentage he feel that he deserves, but it's going to be up to him to file that claim. One of the wildest things that I received, Ms. Davis, received a claim from a veteran, and he stated, I have a VSO. I think he had an attorney, and he says, put it on a 526 and said, I want the VA to look through my records to figure out what I can claim and submit my claim on my behalf.
Oh, wow.
The VA will not do that. But I want to let everybody know he had a lawyer. I've seen VSOs put on a 526. Veteran is claiming an increase for tinnitus, and they're already at 10%. So the naysayers is out there that's saying, hey, get an accredited VSO, not saying that all VSOs are like that or attorneys. You still need to be educated on this. You still need to know what they're doing, what they're submitting, because the VA is going to hold you accountable, not them, because it's not their claim. Okay. So let's move a little right along. I'll let you take this one, Mr. Davis. You say you can read it now, right?
Yeah. We're good.
Okay. The VA lost.
All right, Mr. Barry Smith. If the VA lost your service treatment records and the doctor that you started seeing when you first got out and the doctor died and they destroyed his records after 10 years, what do you suggest? Well, That's a tough one. So having your service treatment, let's kind of unpack the question, right? Your service treatment records being destroyed or lost, rather. Um, well, if there's your service treatment records are lost, there's different avenues to make sure that you make sure every avenue has been checked before uh, noting that your service treatment records are lost. You have your make sure you check your command, make sure you're receiving if that same notification from the National Personnel Records Center. Make sure that you're checking every avenue and have no stone unturned before you're making that determination of your service treatment records being lost. And then from there, if your physician has passed away during that time frame and the records are destroyed, well, if you're still dealing with that condition and it's chronic, you still can always go back to the physician to have the treatment of that time, presently, get actually documented. So if you're stating that your service treatment records are lost, and at that time during that time frame while you were in service, you were receiving treatment, then at that point, unfortunately, I will say that you know. Um, it's futile, right? You would need to this is point where write statements, right? Any type of statements that would assist, right? But all in all, I would then, yield you to make sure that you get any personal treatment now. And I'm sorry, I have it's just some noise in the background. My apologies, I got a little distracted there.
No problem. I heard it, but I wasn't going to say anything. Yeah, not a problem. You're all
So,
good. You're
yeah,
all
excuse
good.
me. I'm sorry. This is that live stream going live.
Yeah, yeah. So say, let's talk under the tree podcast. What do I need for an ED rating? I have been receiving ED meds for 3 years. I don't know the diagnostic code criteria, but it would also you would get the 0%, and then they should grant you SMCK. But just because you've been taking meds for 3 years, you still have to ask yourself the ED, where does it fall under the 5 ways of service connection? Pre-service aggravation, direct, increase, secondary, presumptive. If it doesn't fall under those 5 ways, 9.9% out of 10, it will be denied. Do you happen to know that diagnostic code criteria right off the bat? I don't know it right off the bat, the 0% what it says, but I know where to go and find it. I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so kind of the criteria for that when we're talking about ED, the main criteria, right, is going to be not being able to become erect without through sexual penetration, right? So that's one to be one. You're going to need you're going to obviously need medication um, to one become erect for sexual purposes, and also that's something that you're going to need to be treated for while in service. So, that criteria will then possibly yield you about 0%, right? Will yield you that 0%. But that's something that I would, reconfirm, under the 38 CFR. But typically that would be the criteria to be able to get that service connected. But that is, I believe that's max at 0, right? Because it is a special,
Yep.
it's an S&T,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
It is 0.
take
Yep.
that into consideration as well.
Yep. Okay, let's keep going here. I'll let you take this one as well,
All
Carlos. From
right.
Carlos, I am going to have
All right. Hopefully we
say
don't have
big.
any noise here this time.
Yeah, no, you're good.
All right,
Uh,
Carlos. So hi, Carlos. So I'm going to have next week a CMP exam for anxiety secondary to tinnitus. What to expect and severe insomnia. So what I would say is every CMP examination is a little bit different, right? So with every CMP examination being different, what you should expect, you should actually prepare yourself to be able to make sure that you're able to speak to your anxiety and insomnia very thoroughly, symptomatology and such, and also making sure that you're able to speak your piece to your examiner. A lot of times, it all depends if you're going through a third-party examiner or the VA, but a lot of times the examination is very quick. So make sure you are very keen on what you're going to discuss, and also make sure you're very keen on how you're going to discuss it. because at times I've had clients that had an CMP examination that went for 10 minutes. I've had clients that had mental exam that went for 2 hours. So it all depends, it all depends. But typically, again, just be ready to discuss your illnesses or conditions.
Right. So we're going to take a pause right here. Again, you can contact Mr. Davis, Veterans for Veterans, area code 619. I didn't put the 9 in before, but I just put it in the comment section again. 619-786-0465. Website Vets for Vets Consulting.com. And again, he and I are former VA Raiders trained by the VA. And that will not be the last time I bring that up tonight. So just want to make sure we get that out there. Okay. Okay, Benny, you were okay until you said go Navy. I know I'm Army. So,
There we go. There we go.
All right. Look, one of my frat bros, look at him talking about go Navy. Okay. All right. So I'm originally from Missouri. You can see he's out from Arkansas. They're not even going to a bowl game, I don't think. But Mizzou, yeah, going to a bowl game. All right. Moving right along. Lee says, can you help vets in California? Do we need to drive to Vegas? I think Lee just trying to make an excuse just to get to Vegas.
Well, listen, we service vets everywhere, so you don't need to necessarily come to Las Vegas to be serviced. We provided education for veterans even overseas, so we're pretty much assisting globally at that point. So California is in that jurisdiction. We would love to assist.
There you go. All right, and Lee also put the updated number to Mr. Davis 619-786-0465. Okay, how do claims tie into VR&E program, or does it beyond the 10% requirement? Unless Mr. Davis has some information on that, Raiders don't have anything to do with voc rehab. At least I didn't during my career. Separate department. I can't even tell you what those requirements are. And we have to understand the VA is broken. Excuse me. The VA is broken up into 3 departments of division, if you will. You got VBA, VHA, and NCA, National Cemetery Administration, Veterans Health Administration, and then Veterans Benefit Administration. Under Veterans Benefits Administration, BVA, you have voc rehab, you have insurance, you have education, then you have compensation, and then you have pension. What we're talking about is strictly compensation. I sometimes I think I did a video. No, I didn't do video. A loan guarantee. I forgot loan guarantee. Yeah, loan guarantee. So I do not even keep up with the VR&E program. Do you or your organization keep up with that? I know I don't. I don't keep up with it.
Got it. Yeah. We do kind of make sure. Obviously, we're trying to stay updated for the most part. But like you said before, the VA is broken up into many branches, right? And even subsector branches in between that. But in regards to VNRE, typically, again, you want to align yourself with 20% to be able to receive VRNE substantially, but you can actually receive it at 10%. But again, it must be at a severe nature. So with that being said, I would always make sure veterans are aligned with at least 20% service connected before requesting a VRNE to make sure that you're approved. Which one great thing about it is actually just went up for the payment that is provided, or the compensation payment that's provided for veterans that utilize VNRE by 6.2%. So I know everyone is so enticed with the amount, the COLA, right? But that has went up. So what I would say is, again, make sure that you're at least 20% rated and above. And just to add to that really quick, if you're again, was discharged by 2013 or beyond, I want to say that specifically under the VRNE, you're able to continuously utilize that on an ongoing basis for the rest of your life, right? Anything prior to that, you have a certain allotted time frame, right? About 12 years or so. So the VRNE is a very, very special benefit that I don't think a lot of veterans know about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that. That's something I never used it, and I knew where their office was in the region office, but that was it, because when I hired in as a raider. I didn't come in as a VSR, so I was, two picks on the eyes trying to just stay in the fight, stay in the game, if you will. All right. So bought your book. Thank you for the support. Again, if you go to the website, www.kmd89.com, pick up the new book. And right next to that buy now button, there's a coupon code VET, VET 20. Fulfilled 18 orders and only had 2 people put that code in. Okay. Use the code. All right. Moving right along. I'll let you take this one, Mr. Davis.
All right. All right. Kennedy Scott. So I had a CNP examination. It was bad. They didn't put down nothing I say, like they didn't care. I called the VA to put a complaint about what should I do next. Well, this is why appeal process is made, right? All CNP examinations are not going to go well. As I just mentioned before, some CNP examinations go very smoothly and well, but some CNP examinations are just terrible. And again, just like a VA rater, your rater may have a bad day and may not be able to get the proper evidence that make a proper decision. So with that being said, having that CNP examination, what I would advise is I would advise you to provide yourself additional evidence, but also when you provide that additional evidence to submit a supplemental claim, make sure you go ahead and make sure that it is that you put and discuss in a statement that you had a previous examiner basically did a bad exam. Okay, and I would then also go above and beyond to make sure that that statement is provided before you actually put the supplemental claim in. You possibly get lucky and get a reorder to CNP, but unfortunately, a lot of times it is what it is.
Yep. All right, move right along. I'll let you take this one as well. Stephanie had a 0% rating for 2 of the 3 things I've claimed and have proof in my records, but they didn't rate my mental health, even though I have it in my records and I received treatment afterwards. I would say, having 0% is not a bad thing because you can always go back in for an increase. Okay. So if they service connect you, you say proof in your records, they agree. But did you look at the diagnostic code criteria for those conditions before you went to the CNP exam? How did you word the claim? Did you use the symptoms in the percentage in the diagnostic code criteria when you filed it? Okay. All of those things come into play. And I even talk about it in my book, and I provide some example wording. So definitely think about that. When you get the rating decision, a lot of vets don't read that rating decision. Read why they gave you 0% and read why they didn't give you the next higher percentages. So, for example, if it's 10%, why didn't they give you 10%? Do you meet that criteria? Okay. And like Mr. Davis said, if you do and you get a copy of that CNP exam, and in that CNP exam on the DBQ, it shows that you met the next higher criteria, like Mrs. Davis said, that's why we got the appeal process. But you have to know how to reasonably articulate that when you get in front of that decision review officer. Okay. You got to point out the fact and or law that was violated. Okay. Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Davis?
Not much. It's one thing I do want to make sure that the veterans know that's on the live stream. Please read your narratives. Please, when you get your decision, your notification letter, read it thoroughly. Because I will tell you, it's a lot more information in there than you think. You have to read your narrative. This is it's not junk mail. I'll tell you that. I know everyone goes down to the payment or if they're rated or not and move on with their life. Read the narrative, read it thoroughly, and make sure you understand it. Okay. And if you don't understand it, obviously go to a subject matter expert that's going to assist you. You can reach out to us. Obviously, Kimball is giving so much information, and it just is valuable. I was just thinking, I was like, man, I hope I can get that VET 20 code and go to buy a book. but yeah, so read the narrative.
Yeah. I don't worry about it. I'll send you one. So make sure you text me. You got my number. Text me, and I'll send you a signed copy out there. Okay.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Traveling Terry, this is a lone supporter. Terry, we got to meet in person back here in the summer, here in the Tampa, Florida area. So he's out in sunny Arizona, living the life. Okay. All right. And this is something I was reading this while you were talking, Mr. Davis, because they're talking about the disabilities and they get into the SMCL and then the SMCK. And then there's a second part to this. Continuing, he was denied 3 times since 2021 for SMCT. Any suggestions? Go ahead.
No. I was just considering, when we're at those SMC levels, at that level, right? SMCT. Only thing that I can do is continue to push for what you deserve, right? If you need to appeal it at a higher level review and a BVA level, take it to the board. Because it's when we're talking about special monthly compensation, I don't know about you, Kimball, but a lot of raters were not well versed in the SMC, right?
Ooh.
The SMC, because they were rare, typically. But yeah, I would say just continue to push forward.
Right. And even right now, I can't tell you the criteria. I have to go look it up. And I used that example earlier. And I'm just thinking like SMC, I know housebound, SMCS. You got to have one disability at 100 and other ones totaling 60% or higher, then, or not leave the house. I think is what, like at least 95, 90% of the time or something like that. But these other SMCs, like loss of use, they got loss of use of upper extremity, lower extremity, below the knee, above the knee. And I love that SMC calculator that we had, to plug the effective dates in and stuff. Man, I was like, because, when you start talking about SMC-M, SMC-N, half step, SMC R1, it took me 2 days to do an SMC R1 case. And then my coach turned around as soon as I finished that. He was like, "Oh, well, you did one. Here's another one." I'm like, "Man, are you trying to make me go up on the roof and jump off or something?" I'm like, "Give me a break. Give me a hearing loss and tinnitus or something. Break it up. You're gonna give me 2 SMC R1s." And it literally, that first one took me 2 full days. I didn't go to lunch. Only thing I did, I brought my lunch. I was eating my lunch at my desk and going to the bathroom, and that was it. And those are brutal. Those are brutal. Okay. So we got a little less than 15 minutes. Gonna keep going. I'll let you take this one, Mr. Davis. Don't know if it matters, but they always say go with someone that's accredited with the VA. Why does accreditation matter or not matter? Woo!
Oh man.
So
man. Well, Kimball's been on here speaking about it all live stream, right? Listen, I'll tell you this. In any industry, any accreditation, or any organization, you have some people that do good work and you have some people that do bad work. Accreditation means a lot of times you took a test and you were able to pass the test. Okay, in the back.
Yeah.
Now, if you are a subject matter expert like Mr. Kimball here, he has literally broken down certain language that some of these accredited agents or VSOs will never even know about. SMCT, SMCR, SMC, that stuff right there, that is high level rater information. That stuff is not just readily available. You do not understand that. So, next time, when you're dealing with someone that is accredited or dealing with, in a lawyer, even, as Kimball says on many of his videos, provide a manual reference.
Mhm.
Provide a manual reference. If they cannot provide you a manual reference or a CFR regulation, guess what? I would defer to consider their counsel.
Whoo, man, you hit the nail on the head. And I tell, I see that people like, oh, go with somebody accredited, and they say that, and I don't want to make it sound like we're bashing VSOs. You know, you got some good ones, you got some not so good ones. Same way with Raiders, same thing. You got some good ones and not so good ones. But I came across a VSO one time. We were just talking, and I was like, well, you can look it up in the CFR. And his response to me was, "What is the CFR?" I
Oh
was
man.
like, "Whoa." I was like, "Okay." But you see that a lot, people on Facebook, get accredited, get it, go get it accredited, and there's some awesome ones out there. I
Yeah.
know some personally that are good, but when people say that, I'm like, "Hmm." And you remember that test that we had to take, that 300-word test, like,
Oh,
uh
yeah.
that to become a journeyman, RVSR, then you take that every 2 years. Man, you talking about sweating bullets taking that thing.
Listen, I'll tell you what, they're going through it's almost like going to college all over again. Right? It is strenuous. It is a strenuous process to be able to get the information that you guys are getting here on these platforms, because I'll tell you right now, this is not stuff that's ready. It is readily available. I'll tell you, find me 10 people to interpret it. Find me
Yeah.
10 people to
Yep.
interpret the information. Right?
Mhm.
It is not that easy.
Yep. Okay, Twisted, claim was submitted. Okay, Twisted, when you start talking about effective dates, when people ask me about effective dates and give me scenarios, I don't even touch it. I need to be looking at everything. 526CZ, did you submit an intent to file? What's in the rating decision? What other evidence that you have? Effective dates are tricky. You can tell me a scenario and I can say, oh, it's this date, and then turn around and give me the paperwork. I'm like, no, it's another date. So I don't even try to attempt to answer those questions because I have to be looking at all the information. How about you, Mr. Davis?
Totally agree. Effective dates is one of the most common things that people are deemed on, right?
Mhm.
Effective dates it is a very tricky situation, because at that point you're taking into consideration the staging of conditions. You're taking in consideration intent to files. You're taking in considerations of previous claims and historic claims. It is so tricky. It can get very, very confusing there. But what I would want to add, though, I do want to make sure that everyone takes notice to the update in the regulation that basically states that veterans are able to receive basically intent to file effective dates based upon a supplemental case filing.
Okay.
Okay, that update did transpire in March. That is very, very huge for some veterans. They don't know that. So now, rather than getting a effective date based on the time that from the submission of case claim, right? You're able to go back to the intent to file. So that is something I would like to go and touch on effective dates.
Okay. I think we got somebody here that may that follow you there, Mr. Davis. Prepare to compete. Podcast is go. I'll follow you on TikTok.
Nice,
Right.
nice.
Yeah. So I want to put this up. Lady B, it is easier to grant than deny. And I want to give this young lady a shout out. She was actually my master trainer when we went to CO in Baltimore. She was my mentor while at the VA. I consider her a walking VA dictionary.
Mhm.
Almost 40 years doing this. And I remember I was having a tough time in Baltimore, and she said, "Hey, when we get back to the hotel room, meet me downstairs." And she broke it down. So a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about in my YouTube videos, my live streams, I credit her for a lot of that. And guess what? She didn't even work in my regional office.
Mm.
She gave me more information than some of the individuals that were doing the training at my regional office. I could email her, and she's been on. I did a video, I want to say about 2-3 years ago, and she talked about, she broke the protection rule down. She broke it down and explained it. So definitely, I just want to give her a shout out and say thank you. I'm totally grateful because I don't know if I would have made it as a Raider without you. And super lovely person, and I just appreciate everything you did for me and the veterans out there. And she was always say, you need to figure out ways to grant. Don't even think about, just
Mm.
figure out ways that you can grant. She just hammered it. So I called her like a master, super master trainer, because she trained not only me, but hundreds of other RVSRs as well. So thank you. All right, let's keep going. We got about 6 more minutes. Get through a couple more questions here. George Washington, is it normal for Optimum to schedule 8 general exams in one visit with one doctor for 2 hours? I'll just take that one, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, I mean, typically on a general exam, they would go ahead and be able to deemably review, each condition at that time. So what I would say is yes, because a lot of times a lot of general conditions are grouped, right? Musculoskeletal conditions, neurological conditions and such. So they're able to kind of get the information during the process. So if it's 8 conditions under a general exam, they're pretty much going from head to toe typically, and they'll provide that examination for you. Fill out the information there. So I would say yes.
All right. Tyler says, if that's truly the case, where did the mantra "deny until we die" come from? They. It didn't come from, I guarantee it didn't come from anybody that was trained by the VA. Um, and I would say it came from people outside the VA, the people that say, oh, Raiders want to see this, or Raiders will do this. And I still haven't heard anybody tell me what did I want to see or what did I want to do when I actually rate it. Do you got any insight on that, Mr. Davis?
I I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you are very true, very right. Um, Most people are coming up with that mantra because they are not able to go through the process. They don't know.
There it is.
So
There
once
it
they
is.
deny, they just travel the information to others, and next thing you know, it's just it's scuttlebutt talk, right?
Yeah,
Or it's
yeah,
just water cooler. Now everyone is afraid to even put in a claim or go submit a claim again because their brother or sister in arms has told them that they've been denied, but they have been
right.
miseducated and has not done it properly. So now at that point, you're gonna go ahead and go ahead and spew that mantra around. So
Right, right. Yeah, deny until you die. It just, man, I had to just dial back from responding to those comments like on Facebook, because I'm just like, okay, it's just at this point, it's just hearsay, if you will, because I know from working in that system that that's just it's just not true. You know, you I just tried to look for ways to, okay, how can I get this veteran service connected? How can I, and like I stated earlier, these videos that like yourself or myself do and don't get a lot of views, that's the one they need to be looking at,
true.
because we're dropping them nuggets. Those are the ones you need to stop looking at cola. I even do videos of cola. Stop looking at those. Start looking at these videos, the 5 ways of service connection. What is the criteria for TDIU? How do you do an intent to file? How do you go about submitting that FOIA request to getting your VA claims file? What makes a DBQ and nexus statement sufficient? Things like that. Understand, on block 17 on that 526, if you put down treatment, you just added 6 months onto your claim, because they're going to send you that 4142, and you're going to go through that. And guess what? That doctor don't respond. They're going to send you a letter and say, hey, the doctor didn't respond. It's your ultimate responsibility to get this information. So why not get the information to begin with and send it in with your claim? These are things that me and Mr. Davis are talking about. Okay. We are retired VA Raiders. Lady B, she trained me. It blows my mind almost. Okay. So I don't want I don't want to go too far off in the weeds.
Yeah, but real quick, I don't think everyone really understood about that 4142 thing. That right there is literally gold alone, right? That's so valuable to be able to get your decision rated, because right now the VA just has so many claims in the queue right now, because this whole PACT Act situations and such.
Over a million.
The backlog is just ridiculous. That right there will save you some time. That right there would save you months of headache.
So, we used to call that 4142 the danger zone. You're in the danger zone. You do that. You just oh man. Okay, so we're gonna take 3 more questions. We're right at almost 1 hour, so I want to be respectful of Mr. Davis' time. I know he's in a different time zone. Michael, I haven't, other than an honorable discharge, should I apply for disability comp? One, you have to understand, do they do character discharges on other than honorable? And then my question would be, do you have 1 period of service or 2 periods of service? Because I had a client that did 20 years in the Air Force, and he went to an accredited agent, a lawyer, and he had a dishonorable discharge. And they said, you're not going to get anything. And he came to me and I said, they told you that? Yeah, they're accredited. Right now, he's 100%, because guess what? That last period of service was dishonorable. He got service connected for the other conditions during the honorable periods. So, Michael, I would say, is it just 1 period? Submit the claim. If it is 1 period, I don't know if the VSR will do a character discharge on that. And the character discharge, they'll let you know if you're barred from compensation, healthcare, or if you are awarded benefits. Do you know, Mr. Davis, off the top of the head? Because I certainly don't. If they do character discharges on other than honorable conditions, I would say no, but I'm not for sure. I have to look it up.
Yeah. So typically what would happen, they would make a administrative decision. They would need to be able to process administrative decision, like you said, to determine if that period of service is credible or if it's barred from benefits, right? But regardless of the fact of that, I would tell every veteran to go ahead and submit it to know. Just know if you are barred or not. So when we're talking about other honors, it's very sensitive. It's very sensitive. Discharges, different times in service. There's so many different variations and also variables that come into play. So with other than honorable, what I would say is make sure that you get an administrative decision on see why they're barring you from benefits. And once you understand why you're barred from benefits, with a so forever changing regulations of the DoD, you may intensely be able to qualify depending on your discharge subject and also your discharge regulation code. So it really depends, but I would say submit your claim regardless of the fact to see what's what.
And I did a video a couple of weeks ago how to go to the VA's website and submit for what did I call it? A discharge upgrade or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I called it. And they got a cool feature on their website where you go through it, you click buttons, yes or no, and then they'll tell you where you need to submit it and all that stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll take a couple more. I'll let you take this one, Mr. Davis. I was trying to find my claim.
All right.
How hard would it be to get to 100%? Ooh.
All right, Mr. Estrada. I filed my claims and got 90%. How hard it would be to get 100% by myself? Mr. Estrada, it all depends, sir. That's a very difficult question to answer because it really all depends on one, you may be 90%, but you may actually only have 85% that bumps you up to the 90% on the criteria, the VA, your VA math, right? And it may take you another 70, 80% to get you 100%. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't ever, it takes, we have to analyze the full case file to see what kind of strategy that we will be able to provide to get you to 100%. So that is up in the air, sir.
Okay. We'll take one more. It says, what if someone goes from, I'm thinking total to permanent, was never canceled, never signed, was completed wrong rank, and never received new DD 214? It's a user from LinkedIn. We're going to need more information. I'm not understanding what you're saying there. Okay, so there's more information. All right. So we're a little bit 3 minutes over. Just want to give a shout out to a couple of people that donated. S. Hobson, can I claim vertigo caused by migraines? That would be secondary. Thank you, sir, for the donation. Just want to make sure get people that donated. Oh, okay. Dr. Detroit. Hey, I really appreciate the donation. One thing that I did this year, I no longer adopt the schools in low income areas. Took some of those funds and purchased a couple of turkeys, and I deep fried them for the vet organization at the University of South Florida. The director and associate director, they're doing some really good things with the veterans at USF, the University of South Florida. So I deep fried some turkeys, and they had dinner. And the vets that wasn't able to make it home, they came in and together and broke bread together. And I donated a couple of turkeys. And also, what I did was I pledged 2 scholarships, which I need to get a contact with them before the year end, to donate $500 each semester to a veteran at need at USF, University of South Florida. So this is where these donations go. So vet, I know, was exposed to burn pits in Middle East, had weird problems, low appetite, kidney, coughing ever since, and now has stage 4 lymphoma. He applied for PACT, has VA interview soon. What to expect or words of wisdom? One thing that I know I look for when it came presumptives was anything before they went to the Gulf, anything afterwards, and I think that's the way you would have to explain it. A lot of people don't know about undiagnosed illnesses, so you went to the Gulf and you came back. So obviously they saw something. You look at that criteria. But again, Mr. Davis said it earlier, when you go to these exams, you have to be able to explain it. I call it being able to reasonably articulate your symptomology, understand the diagnostic code criteria for whatever you're claiming. And how do you feel that you being in Southwest Asia, being exposed to toxins, caused that? Do you want to wrap up, or I'll give you the last thoughts on that last question, Mr. Davis?
No, I mean, I think you said it eloquently. When you're going through this process to explain your symptomatology, you want to make sure you tie it into how it affects you. A lot of times, many veterans, they go into the process to discuss, in a fashion, they're going to discuss the events that transpire throughout their service, but they're not explaining how the symptoms affected them, and also the environment exposure. If you were exposed to burn pits, if you were exposed to different toxins that can affect your skin, if you're exposed to radiation, if you're exposed to asbestos, there's so many different toxins that veterans deal with. We can't count on it to be labeled as automatically come down the pipeline to hopefully be one day be a presumptive condition. So with that, just as Kimball said, being able to put your symptoms under a undiagnosed illness is very, very smart to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll wrap it up with Annette Baker. Thanks for the super sticker. I definitely appreciate it. again, if you're in Vegas, somewhere on the West Coast, or anywhere else, definitely go out and check out Veterans for Veterans. Their toll-free number is 619 78, well, not toll free, but 619-786-0465. Their website, vetsforvetsconsulting.com. I did put their phone number in the comment section as well. Don't forget, go out to my website, pick up the new book. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay. And the reason why I'm showing you what it looks like, because someone else decided to write a book and call it VA Claim Success and put it on Amazon. But this is the real deal. Okay. This is it. I'm giving you something that you can use. A lot of veterans been giving me a lot of good feedback on it. I got QR codes in here. So that'll take you to the M21 manual reference and the 38 CFR. So when you go to the website, use the coupon code VET, VET 20 when you check out. So you can get a reduced amount. I shipped out, they got like 18, 20 books to ship out tonight, and only 2 people used the code, and they bought it off the website. Okay. So definitely, again, everyone, give a round of applause to Mr. Davis. Really appreciate what you're doing, Mr. Davis, for veterans. Thank you for coming on this evening. I know it won't be the last time. I know we'll see each other in Dallas again in March. So definitely appreciate you coming on. And anything else, I'll give you the final words if you want to. Any other things that you're doing in the community in Vegas, or if you got any workshops coming up, go ahead and let everyone know. We got 180 people. Hopefully, we got 180 likes. We had over 200 people this evening, so we're still close to 200. So just go ahead and just let everybody know what you're doing out there in Vegas in the community. If you got anything coming up where they can attend.
Well, we do have obviously a seminar tomorrow, actually, that's going to be transpiring, but all our workshops and seminars that we travel the country putting on for our veteran communities in regards to education, we always make sure that we'll be putting it out not only through the website, but also providing that information through our YouTube channel as well, and also Facebook as well. So you guys can always look us up there. But I say that beyond that, Kimball, we're so gracious and so thankful that you're able to have us on your platform. Really appreciate everything that you're doing out there. You're doing the work, we see it. As a veteran myself, I thank you and I honor what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right, appreciate it. We'll go ahead and close it out. Good evening, everyone. Again, make sure you watch these videos and catch us on our other social media platforms as well to see what we're doing. We might be in a city near you. Take care. Stick around, Mr. Davis.